got new spring eye or suspension bushings and spring eye bushings, whatever, for the Scout. Got them in yesterday, and I'm sure you can probably see the trouble. Besides that, the OD is just about right. It's a tight slip fit going into the frame, so I'm gonna just put a couple tacks around the circumference or whatever, and that'll hold those in place. I might actually even knurl the edges of these, get them in there a little tighter. But this is the old outer sleeve from one of the bushings, and this here is the newer bushing, and you can probably see that's about a quarter. The new one is about a 1/4 inch too long. Now here's where I play a little game I call Stuck in Siberia, where this is the only part you got, and you got to make it work, or you ain't getting home. Now, admittedly, you're probably not going to have an engine lathe if you're stuck in Siberia, but you might. You can do this with a hacksaw and a vise and maybe a file too. Just get them to work. But I want to do a little more than just make them work. I want to make them nice as I possibly can. So I got my parting tool set and carriage locked at a point where I can just take this bushing, shove it right back into the chuck, tighten it down, and right there, that's where I need the outer sleeve cut down to. And then after that, I gotta cut the inner sleeve. But right now, I'm just running along and cutting that outer sleeve and the rubber off and leaving that little bit exposed. It's a little more efficient, I guess. You know, you don't have to change your settings and stuff. You don't have to swap stuff around. So let's go. And this parting tool doesn't work right. You know, it could be the lathe. It's probably me though. This lathe actually is in pretty good shape, except for all the dings and knocks in the ways. So what I do, just run it in there. Well, until I install it. Shattering like hell. And I would slow it down, but this is the only speed it seems to want to work on. But all I really got to do is get a groove in there good enough to start my hacksaw. And then I put my hacksaw on there. Try to keep it off the jaws of the chuck because it's right next to them. The hacksaw, that's my real parting tool. I just use the actual proper parting tool when I need to start a good, accurate groove to run the hacksaw. I could tighten my belt up some more, I guess, but I like to leave it loose because I am really a novice. Alright, now we're into the rubber. Okay, now what I do, shut it off. Pair of channel locks. Pop that ring off. Now, I'll run my cutter in there on the rubber just till I'm touching that inner sleeve. Just till I'm touching off on that. And you got to watch very close and listen. You don't want to take a lot off of that inner sleeve. Just want to touch off on it. That way you know you're cutting the rubber. For some reason, it doesn't like to do it with the hacksaw. It pinches in on it pretty good. Easy like about there. Real careful. Okay, that's it. Alright, then I take a screwdriver, and that's off. Okay, that's the first operation complete. So, now we end up with a bunch of these things, like this. And I just moved my carriage out about, not far at all. And I can just stick that right in there again. And now, my parting tool seems to work fairly well. Maybe it's because of it's a smaller diameter, gets a little more torque on it, I don't know, but for some reason it seems to do the job pretty good like this. And I slow it down. Takes a little time, but it's worth it. Get a good finished product. And they're all the same. Now I did already go and test the first one I did out on the spring hangers, and it's a real nice fit. I want just a little bit of that inner bushing, that inner steel sleeve sticking out. That way the outer steel sleeve isn't chewing on the spring hangers and the shackles and whatnot. Plus it gives it a little bit of room to flex, bend around, do what it has to do. I mean, if I just wanted rigid things in there, I could have chewed down a chunk of bronze or steel or whatever, you know, and pressed them in after I bored a hole through them. But yeah, stuck in Siberia. That's how I look at it, because these are the parts you got. Yeah, I probably could have got a refund on these, but waited long enough for them, and I need to get this damn thing together before the snow flies. I can't really afford any more delays. And so far I got maybe 2 hours into this whole deal. Most of your time is well, usually most of your time is set up, but the setup on this was so simple. Just chuck them in there and hook up the parting tool, and away you go. There it is. Alright. And now on my tailstock I have a countersink tool, and I just kind of run that in, let it lightly ream it a little bit, and that's done. And you can probably see there's just a little bit of that inner bushing sticking out. That way, you know, it can have a little side travel, a little wobble in there. You know, you don't want it right up against your spring hangers, your shackles, because then they start chewing each other apart. And there goes my chuck key. But that's it. I mean, that's you ever run into something like that? Well, I don't know if you'll have an engine lathe or not, like I do, but that's what I'm dealing with.